brother. Why do Japanese women love black men? They loved black men back in 2001, and they still love black men. You've been.
I think 2001. I think they love black men even more now. Thanks to social media, thanks to the internet, thanks to the Black Lives Matter movement too. That's I would say a significant contributing factor to the attention that African men, and when I say African men, I mean I use the term African interchangeably with black because I don't particularly like the term black as it refers to me. I'm an African, and I think that we're all Africans. I'm a Pan-Africanist, so I wanted to get that out there. So I think that especially African American men, and especially Afro UK men, since the social media and the BLM movement have gone a long way to improve the perception that Japanese women have of African men, African American men, and back in the day when I first came, a lot of them were afraid of us. In fact, my wife, who I married, initially when I first met her, when I first stepped to her on the platform in Kobe, she was afraid, and she texted her sister. And even when we were going on our first date, she messaged her sister like, "Hey, I'm going on a date with this black gaijin, and in case anything happens, here I'm at this movie theater." Blah blah. She told me these things, so they're initially afraid of us, and some of them still are. But thanks to the advent of social media and the BLM movement, and more popular artists like Jay-Z and many others that I'm drawing a blank right now, that we have sort of stepped up a few notches in their eyes.
Okay.
So there's not that big stigma anymore to being with an African man.
Interesting. So, brother, you're talking about the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm going to have to push back against you just a little bit, brother. For me, I feel like the Black Lives Matter movement kind of made, black men look weak in a global scale. Why can't black men, protect themselves? Why is it always black men, etc., etc.? But you're telling me that Japanese women love black men more because of the Black Lives Matter movement. In what way, brother?
Because the Black Lives Matter movement actually had a foothold in Japan too, and a lot of Japanese people, a lot of Japanese women were participating in the BLM movement in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of Japanese women, a lot of Japanese people, and a lot of Japanese women marched in the BLM movement here in Japan, in Tokyo and in Osaka. And some of them, I've heard stories where Japanese women have explained to their African friends that they didn't know that the situation was so dire in America, for example. They didn't know that African Americans experience that kind of discrimination in America. And they were shocked. They were like, "Oh my God, that could have been you. You could have been shot by the police. What would I do if you were killed?" And so they became more sympathetic. And I think that the BLM movement internationally has brought greater awareness to the plight of African people around the world, especially in America. So I don't take the position that it makes us look weak. I think that we are, you should read a book called The Racial Hierarchy by Grandison, Chris Paul Grandison. And it talks about how we are literally at the bottom of the racial hierarchy, and we experience the most oppression and prejudice. And I think the BLM movement around the world brought to people's attention internationally the extent to which we bear the brunt of hate and racism and prejudice around the world. And I think Japanese women saw that. They participated in the marches, and it made us more
visible,
and the fear that they had of African people, of black men, was reduced significantly, I think.
Okay, fantastic, brother. So a follow-up question to that, brother, is currently in 2022, are you seeing black men with beautiful top-tier Japanese women? Because if I go to Japan, bro, I want to get a top-tier Japanese chick. Nobody count.
But like I said in my book,
mm-hmm.
If you want a top-tier Japanese chick, your Japanese is your Japanese is going to need to be on point. But Maybe less so now because more are speaking English. But when I came 20 years ago, I immediately realized that the ones that spoke English were not that they weren't the babes. And if I wanted the babes, like my wife, I would need to learn Japanese. So I started studying Japanese immediately upon arrival. I got here on a Wednesday. I started studying on a Friday. And, you know, within a couple of months, I was able to like step 2 in Japanese. Women, like, gives them some serious lyrics in Japanese and clothes in Japanese. So it would help if your Japanese is at least, you know, at a level where you can communicate, basically.
Okay, interesting, brother. Fantastic.